Tell me, piece yourself back together now. What's your vision?
And that weird shaking, the strange booms after dark last night, what could have caused it? The theories range from aliens to an earthquake. ABC 15's Melissa Blazey is talking to witnesses.
It was the weirdest, oddest thing.
Maria Rodriguez heard it and felt it in Scottsdale's DC Ranch neighborhood. She was watching TV with her family just after 8:30. They were startled by their dogs barking, a back door banging, and a boom that seemed to come from the top of the house.
This was unexpected. It just happened. It was just, there was nothing before and nothing after, and it was very quiet afterwards and left everyone thinking, what was it?
At first, she thought it was an earthquake or a downburst, but Arizona geologists and meteorologists are ruling those out. Could it be a sonic boom? Luke Air Force Base tells ABC 15 they had jets in the air, but they were flying 75 to 100 miles away from where people experienced the boom and the shaking. So the mystery continues.
2 men in court charged in the aggravated kidnapping and satanic ritual murder of a teenager. Their bail, $300,000 each. Police say both are members of the very violent MS-13 gang, both here illegally from El Salvador. 18-year-old Diego Hernandez Rivera and 22-year-old Miguel Alvarez Flores being held right now in the Harris County Jail. There was increased security outside the courtroom this morning, as well a forceful response to the suspects inside. Good afternoon, I'm Sherman Chow. 2 kidnappings and a murder linked to a Southwest Houston apartment, and that is where prosecutors say both victims were held by gang members. Also inside that unit, a shrine used to worship a satanic saint.
2 MS-13 gang members are accused of pretty sick, horrific crimes. They were in court just a few hours ago, but the thing is, they acted like nothing was wrong, smiling and waving at our cameras. I want to show you this video. Here they are, Miguel Alvarez Flores. He's 22 years old. He's the one in that green shirt.
Tonight, we hear from a suspected cannibal killer. A Skype interview with Austin Haraf from his hospital room paints the picture of a deeply troubled and regretful young man with little memory of what happened the night a South Florida couple was brutally murdered. Tonight, we have exclusive new video of his interview with Dr. Phil.
I don't remember thinking at all. It's like a blur, sort of. So I don't think I was thinking straight.
Michelle Mishcon and her husband, John Stevens, were stabbed to death in the garage of their Jupiter home last August. Their neighbor who rushed over to save the couple was also seriously injured. Investigators say Austin Haraf was responsible and was chewing on his victim's face.
I never imagined that this would ever happen, and I'm deeply sorry to the family that was affected, and I hope that something like this never happens again.
Haraf says he never tried Flocka, steroids, or bath salts, but that he has heard voices, the devil talking to him, and that he has had superpower delusions and godlike fantasies. The night of the murders, Haraf exhibited strange behavior.
Do you remember drinking cooking oil at your mother's house?
No. I didn't remember it at first, and then now I have a fake memory of it.
Do you have any idea in the world why you would do that?
No, I don't know why.
He talks about running away from a demonic creature named Daniel and into a random garage where Mishcon was sitting.
An elementary school teacher in Milwaukee has parents outraged after using a Ouija board in her kindergarten classroom. They colored, learned some letters, and communed with the anguished spirits of the dead. An outraged mother is calling on Milwaukee Public Schools officials to fire a kindergarten teacher who introduced the young students in her class to a Ouija board. The teacher said it was all in fun. The teacher had been put on administrative leave while the incident is being investigated. The parent who initially reported the incident is getting grief online, presumably from all the people that think dabbling in the occult is an appropriate kindergarten activity.
CNN reports that in a Thursday speech in Rome, the Pope said it might be better to be an atheist than a Christian who exploits people, leads a double life, gets involved in dirty business, and scandalizes the church. Examples of such scandals abound, the Pope said, adding that they erode the church and the guilty Christian from within by causing others to sin and lose faith.
exorcists, witches, and occultists, and a number of magical groups are announcing plans for a ritual designed to bind Donald Trump and all who abet him. The right, requiring a stub of a candle, a pin, salt, matches, a tarot card, a feather, and other odds and ends, calls on spirits to ensure President Trump will fail utterly. It also includes burning a picture of the commander-in-chief, visualizing him blowing apart into dust or ash. Participants apparently have the option of using a baby carrot instead of an orange candle. Among the various spirits invoked are the demons of the infernal realms.
When protests, Donald Trump, you stupid clown, and mockery.
Yes, this is real life. This is really happening.
Fail to stop Trump from being the president, it's time to resort to the supernatural.
Twist the bones and bend the back.
No, really, witches. A Facebook group calling on witches across the U.S. to cast a mass spell against Trump last Friday attracted over 12,000 likes. Celebrities are joining in too, after an instruction manual went viral telling witches what to throw into their cauldron to make the ultimate anti-Trump potion.
To bind Donald J. Trump.
To bind Donald J. Trump.
So that his malignant works may fail utterly.
May fail utterly. You're fired! You're fired! You're fired!
A mass grave containing the remains of babies and young children has been found at a former Catholic orphanage in Ireland. The finding supports a local historian's efforts to trace the fates of 800 children who died at the facility between 1925 and 1961. The Irish government formed a commission in 2014 to investigate deaths at the Sun Succor's mother and baby home in County Galway. The children who died were aged between 35 weeks and 3 years.
Well, British police are overwhelmed by a rising number of child sexual abuse reports amid criticism that less serious cases are not being addressed as expected. The UK's lead officer on child protection says that police have been overloaded with too many claims registered on a daily basis. Simon Bailey noted that the plan is to deal with dangerous pedophiles first and then proceed to lower-level offenders. Critics argue that the understaffed police are prioritizing grave cases at the expense of the less serious ones that require equal attention. This comes as a government inquiry into child sexual abuse established in 2014 finally held a much-awaited public hearing in London on Monday. The session was focused on sexual abuse as reported by former British child migrants.
With billions of people consuming content online, the amount of data created every day is rapidly outgrowing the carrying capacity of conventional digital storage devices. So researchers are turning to natural genetic code to contain a growing deluge of data. In a recent experiment, researchers at Columbia University and the New York Genome Center were able to store a movie, a computer operating system, and a $50 Amazon gift card on a single drop of DNA. The process relies on DNA's natural ability to rapidly reorganize itself and recombine in complex but predictable patterns. That allows it to be used just like computer code to store and retrieve information. To correct any errors in reconstructing the information stored in the DNA, the scientists used an algorithm originally designed for streaming video on a cell phone. The process cost about $3,500 per megabyte of storage, comparable to the cost of the first computer magnetic disk drive introduced by the IBM Corporation in 1956. But that memory device was so big it had to be carried on a forklift. It could only store a total of 3.5 megabytes of data. A single gram of DNA could hold about 730 billion megabytes of data. In theory, a DNA storage system could reduce the entire Library of Congress to a collection of molecules.
Researchers at the Vail-based Stedman Clinic and Stedman Philippon Research Institute say they are getting close to a breakthrough in slowing down the way people age and speeding up the healing process. Johnny Huard, Chief Scientific Officer and Director of the Institute's Center for Regenerative Sports Medicine, and his team are hoping to use stem cells and platelet-rich plasma to stave off age-related diseases and greatly reduce the recovery time from injuries. Mark Philippon, managing partner of the Stedman Clinic and co-chairman of the Research Institute, said, "I don't think we can reverse aging, but I think we can age better and recover from injury better."
2 new human cases of the H7N9 avian flu have been reported in southwest China's Sichuan province. That brings the number of infections in the province to 8 this year, including 2 fatalities. Both patients had contact with live poultry, but no symptoms have been observed among those in close contact with them. Local authorities have taken prevention measures to stop the spread of the disease, and across the border in Vietnam, they are strengthening measures to keep the virus out.
On Sunday, U.S. and state agriculture officials reported a strain of bird flu has been detected in a commercial chicken breeder flock in Tennessee's Lincoln County. Over 73,000 birds will be culled to prevent the virus from entering the food system. The U.S. Department of Agriculture said this represented the first confirmed case of pathogenic H7 avian influenza in commercial poultry in the U.S. in 2017. The facility has been placed under quarantine. Approximately 30 other poultry farms within a 6.2-mile radius of the site have also been placed under quarantine.
El Salvador, a country already besieged by widespread violence, experienced an unexpected tragedy with the brutal and fatal beating of the National Zoo's beloved hippopotamus, Gustavito. The announcement Sunday of the animal's death has stirred outrage in a population already numbed by a staggering human death toll due to gang violence in recent years. Zoo director Vladin Enriquez said at a news conference that the hippo was found covered with bruises and puncture wounds after being attacked with metal bars, knives, and rocks. El Salvador is one of the most violent countries in the world, recording 5,278 homicides last year, or an average of 14 people killed per day. Most of the killings have been blamed on powerful street gangs.
Police used tear gas to disperse the protesters. Over a dozen demonstrators were also arrested. The rally follows a recent spate of nationwide demonstrations that sparked after the alleged sexual abuse of a black man by police in a Paris suburb earlier this month. Thousands of people have taken to the streets since then. Police have made over 200 arrests. Officials have charged 1 officer with rape and 3 with assault. An ongoing criminal investigation is expected to find them guilty of sexual abuse.
Drought, sectarian violence and poor governance has created hunger crises in Nigeria, Niger, Chad and Cameroon.
Yang Hee Lee has called for Myanmar to immediately end its crackdown on the Muslim minority. Lee says the magnitude of violence against the Rohingya is far more extensive than the UN Rights Office thought. She says the Myanmar military stands accused of committing acts of violence against the Muslims, like slitting throats, indiscriminate shootings, burning houses with people tied up inside, and gang raping women. The Rohingya are facing extensive discrimination and systematic persecution. The Myanmar government denies full citizenship to the minority and calls them illegal immigrants. This is while the Rohingya have lived in the country for centuries.
A long time ago, Lake Titicaca was worshipped as sacred by the Inca Empire. But these days, the shores of South America's largest lake are littered with dead frogs, old tires, and soggy waste. Untreated sewage drains into it from 24 towns and cities. All this is a health hazard to the 1.3 million people in Peru and Bolivia who live near its polluted banks and rely on fishing and farming to survive.
All the rubbish, all the boiled water, everything that is dirty in the city arrives in Lake Titicaca. It arrives in Lake Titicaca and we practically see it. It's really worrisome. Why? Because we depend on that to live.
It's being called an island of trash, a 10-kilometre long stream of garbage and debris brought together by wind and tide to form a continuous floating mass. Hundreds of tons of rubbish, cans, drink bottles and non-degradable plastic, all drifting just a few kilometres off Thailand's holiday beaches and dive sites. It was discovered by this fisherman in Chumpon province, who raised the alarm by posting on the internet pictures he'd taken with his mobile phone. Despite 17 years at sea, he says he's never seen anything like it before.
It looked about 7 to 10 kilometers long and 1 or 2 kilometers wide. You could see it from a long way off. At first, I thought maybe a boat had sunk, so I headed straight into it. When I saw it was old trash, I took pictures.
Environmental group Ocean Conservancy says Thailand is one of 5 Asian nations, together responsible for 60% of plastic waste in the world's seas. It says Asian countries often have inadequate waste disposal facilities. Authorities think Thailand's trash island was caused by garbage being washed into the sea during recent floods.